Welcome to MMA Dogs. My name is Dan, and let's get right down to it. We have a great weekend of fights in Las Vegas, starting out with UFC 175 tomorrow night, and then followed by the Ultimate Fighter 19 finale on Sunday. First of all, I want to give a great shout out to all of our supporters, people that have been there from the very beginning. Basically looking up to what we do and continuing to support what we're trying to do with betting on MMA. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And just so you guys know, I know the last week I did the video. Again, I'm doing the video this week. Hector, we had a scheduling conflict last week, and right now Hector is in an area where he has internet that's not exactly stable. So I'm doing the video again this week, and hopefully he will be back in 2 weeks for the Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone fight. I want to give a great shout out to all of our American fans. Happy Independence Day, happy 4th of July, and let's just get right down to it. This is for the UFC 175 card. Featuring Chris Weidman versus Lyoto Machida. Now, let's see. I'm gonna go right through the picks, and then I'll get right onto the bets. The picks are gonna be Bubba Bush over Kevin Casey, Luke Zachrich over I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, Guilherme Vasconcelos. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that a second time. George Roop over Rob Font. Chris Camozzi over Bruno Santos. Yuri Alcantara over Kenny Robertson. Urijah Faber over Alex Caceres. Marcus Brimage over Russell Doane. Thiago Santos over Uriah Hall. Matt Mitrione over Stefan Struve. Ronda Rousey over Alexis Davis. And Chris Weidman over Lyoto Machida. Now, as for which fighters we're betting on, we picked we picked just a few. The first two fighters we really like on this card, and the only two betting picks are the champions, Ronda Rousey and Chris Weidman. Ronda Rousey is going to be a 4-star pick. Chris Weidman going to be a 3-star pick, and I'll touch base on that in just a second. Our other two betting picks of the night are going to be Matt Mitrione over Stefan Struve. We really like Matt Mitrione as the underdog here, with Stefan Struve's layoff and ability to get knocked out. He has some wins in the past, but he seems to be disappointing, I guess, when you bet on him sometimes. And Matt Mitrione, although not as consistent as he probably is capable of, he should get this win, and there's no reason why he shouldn't. Having said that, he's not a betting pick, but we are including him in our guaranteed profit. So Matt Mitrione, the underdog, over Stefan Struve at plus 145. The other one, we're picking a pretty big underdog in Thiago Santos over Uriah Hall. Man, Uriah Hall has just been a big disappointment since entering the UFC. And it's like, oh, you could say, yeah, he knocked out Chris Lieben, or Chris Lieben was just defeated by the end of the first round and chose not to continue. But other than that, man, what a disappointment. This guy's got all the capabilities physically to win, but in his head, he's the nicest guy in the world. And you can't have that mindset when you're a fighter. And at plus 395, with Thiago Santos pulling up a huge upset over Hani Marks, he's very capable of repeating that performance against Uriah Hall in Las Vegas. So Thiago Santos, the underdog, big, juicy underdog against Uriah Hall, an overrated Uriah Hall at that. And Matt Mitrione, the underdog, in a heavyweight fight against Stefan Struve. Now let's talk about the two main fights. Chris Weidman has been unstoppable. Never lost. Beat Anderson Silva twice. And you might be asking yourself, now why are we picking Chris Weidman to beat Lyoto Machida? Well, some of you may or may not know, we picked Anderson Silva to beat him not once but twice, and we're wrong. Now, you could say Anderson arguably lost both fights, and you could say Anderson arguably lost one fight and was arguably losing the second fight before the fluke injury. Now, Chris Weidman, no doubt about, was winning both those fights before the stoppage. Now, you have to look at it a couple ways. Chris Weidman, although winning against Anderson Silva in the first fight, could have lost a decision had the fight continuously gone the same way it was up until the end of the fight. If that fight had gone all 5 rounds in that way, we could have seen Anderson Silva winning just by, pure taunting and just looking like he had control, even if he didn't. Second fight, Chris Weidman was dominating, and just as it seemed like Silva was turning on the jets, he basically threw a leg kick a little too hard, and Chris checked it, and that was the end of the night, and pretty much solidified Anderson Silva not fighting this year in 2014. So, with that being said, we have no reason to pick against Chris Weidman. And I know what you're thinking, well, why should we bet on him? Why should we bet on him? Well, Lyoto Machida, he beat Gegard Mousasi, and he knocked out Mark Munoz. And, yeah, a lot of people think, he got robbed in Brazil by Phil Davis. But a robbery is still a loss, and it's our job to predict what's going to happen. And if that means, what are the judges going to say if it comes down to it? What do we think is going to happen? And we're not saying that Lyoto Machida is going to get robbed, but if the fight goes 5 rounds, like we think, then we think the defending champion is going to have the slight, if not overall advantage in the judge's decision to choose a winner. So Chris Weidman defeats Lyoto Machida by decision, and that is going to be a 3-star pick. Now, for Ronda Rousey versus Alexis Davis. Now, I've been someone who's been a big fan of Alexis Davis ever since she was brought into the scene on Strikeforce. And, man, this girl has so much heart. Sometimes she goes in there and she looks like she puts on a piss-poor performance and wins because her opponent wasn't as good. And other times she's completely counted out of fights and arguably makes the fight close, win or lose. So why would we bet against Alexis Davis at the price of Ronda Rousey? Well, first of all, Ronda Rousey, as unlikable as she is, she has improved mentally in every possible way she can to prepare for her future opponents. And whether it's coming to submit Liz Carmouche after struggling early, submitting Miesha Tate for a second time after struggling early on the feet, to her first and only, at the current time right now, and only stoppage by TKO against Sarah McMahon. Now, Rousey has all the capabilities of beating Alexis Davis by stoppage or by decision, And Alexis Davis really has no business whatsoever fighting Ronda Rousey. Now, you could say, well, TJ Dillashaw had no business fighting Henan Barrow, and look what happened in that fight. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's why Ronda Rousey is going to be a 4-star pick. Not a 5-star, but a 4-star pick. 4 stars. Just want to make that official. 4-star pick for Ronda Rousey to beat Alexis Davis. And it's one of those fights that I can see why people might think, oh, the spread isn't as good. But that doesn't do any good if you're picking the loser overall, regardless of what the odds are. So yeah, you could bet on Alexis Davis and hope for the best, hope for a robbery, hope for a TJ Dillashaw type performance. But Ronda Rousey is the real deal, and at the very worst, she should get her first 5-round decision win in a defense over Alexis Davis. So let's just sum up the betting picks. Chris Weidman plus Chris Weidman at minus 175. Parlay that with Ronda Rousey at minus 1,000. And we get minus 139. We're going to take 4 units to win 2.88 units. Then we're going to take Matt Mitrione at plus 145. 1 unit to win 1.45 units. And Thiago Santos plus 395. 1 unit to win 3.95 units. So we should get 6 units overall to win 8.28 units. And that is our overall expected return. And for those of you guys looking forward to the Ultimate Fighter finale on Sunday, I will also be doing the video upload for that tomorrow. Probably, I'm not going to solidify it. The video will be up either after the fight tomorrow, but more likely on Sunday morning before the fights, before our 2-hour guarantee is cut off. And I apologize if I'm not being completely clear with you guys. All these picks were done between me and my dog. And it's 4th of July, and I've had a little bit to drink, and it's been a while since I've had anything to drink, but I'm still doing the video, and I'm not completely sober right now. So I just want to let you guys know that that all these picks were made long before the attempt to take a sip of anything to celebrate our Independence Day took place. So anyways, signing off from San Diego, California, my name is Dan, and if you guys are interested in the Ultimate Fighter finale, we will see you guys for that video on Saturday night / Sunday morning. Peace.